Hey everybody, Big Toad here and welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to demonstrate a painting where I'm going to do some aspen trees along an old dirt road and a nice brilliant background. As always, I do a sketch in first and I start off with burnt sienna, and I thin that out with my mineral spirits in order that it will dry quickly and give me a nice thin background. And I sketch in some of the aspen trees to give me context, not all of them, and then once I paint over them, I'll have to do some more. But I try to mark out some of the dark areas. The light's going to come from the left in this painting, so we're going to see some shadows on the side of the main tree. But it's going to be a bright day, so it's not going to be a ton of shadows. Now I start the sky. I'm going to use a nice deep dark blue, ultramarine blue with some titanium white, and I put in just a little bit of cad red medium to just kind of offset that a little bit and gray it out just a tad. You can't hardly tell it's there, but I did that. And so that's really quick. There's not going to be a lot of the sky showing, so I can just fill that in really quick and be done with the sky. No reason to add anything. Now I want to take a moment here to tell you something. When I'm done with this painting, I don't like the composition. And while I enjoyed the painting, I knew something was wrong pretty quickly. Not at this point, not in the block-in stage, but probably about halfway through the painting I realized something's not working here. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I figured it out after I was looking at it a couple days after I finished it, and I realized, that's what I did wrong. That's where I went wrong. So I'll tell you about that at the beginning as we go through this, so be thinking about it. So these greens, as always, if you watched my mixing greens exercise, I start with ultramarine blue and yellow ochre, and then I come in with lots of different options for the greens. To obviously titanium white, I put in some cad yellow light, cad yellow mediums in there to get different hues of greens, and throw in some reds here and there. I play around, make me a nice palette of greens. I wanted some light but bright greens. I don't want it too heavy on the dark greens, but I do use some. Now on this aspen tree, I start out with a gray, and I'm going to block in my aspen trees. And you notice how I'm not, they're not done. I'm putting in the color. I'm marking where they're at. I'm blocking them in, but they're obviously got a lot of work to do on them. And I'm not trying to go all the way up because I need to finish the tops of the trees with a rigger brush later. But I'm trying to put them in there. Don't want to get them too evenly spaced. A lot of them will come all the way down to the base of the greenery there that I have, all the way, and some of them will stop halfway, and I'll do some more later. Blocking in this kind of dead brownish tree using a really dark color that I made with ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, and various hues of that, softening it up with some titanium white here and there. Sometimes even bringing green into it to kind of offset it. Here I want to put a little darker layer of this, and that background is really, if you can't tell, it's got a lot of yellow ochre in it, and I also put in a little bit of the brown to already darken it some from my ultramarine blue and burnt sienna, and also a little bit of I think a cad red medium. I decided I want to darken the bottoms like I did, and now I'm coming in, and this is still yellow ochre, but it has cad yellow light mixed into it to brighten that up. I did dull it down a little bit with some of the dark deep brown that I've used, and I'm going to maintain getting darker as we go down. I'm losing a lot of my block in from my aspen trees that I did. Not a big deal. I leave enough of it so I can find it, and I'm gonna create shadows in my trees. Now for this brush, usually I use a lot of flat brushes, but I decided to go into this brush and use a round brush for as much as I could. I'm after a little looser paint style. Flat brushes tend to, for myself especially, I think other artists will feel the same way. A flat brush gives you a more precise edge to your paintings, but if you start using rounds, you'll get a looser painting out of it. So if you're trying to paint loose, then use your round brushes, and maybe filberts, but stay away as much as possible from the flats if you're going to try to paint loosely. So I'm going to paint a little loose. This is obviously not extremely loose, but still looser than my typical paintings. Now I'm coming back in again with some more white. I am using a flat here because it's easy to put the paint down on that wet paint, because this is all done in one sitting here. And so I'm just going in with white and then allowing it to pick up some of that yellow color. And that works fine. I'm not concerned about it. I'm going to leave yellow, and I'm going to go back over it several times. And each time it's going to change the look of those trees a little bit better. And I like it because the trees give you kind of they're obvious separation from the background color, but because it's got so much of that yellow in it, they don't pop out at you too dramatically because they are background trees. Some of these trees I take all the way to the bottom, down to the road or down to the greenery. Others I will come in later and put some that don't go all the way down on purpose. See, like there, so they look like they're a little more into distance and broken up some. So I'm not going to overwork the rigger too much up there. I am going to make some of those trees taller, going back in again with a round, putting more color into that tree. And here I'm starting to lay some dark into my aspen trees. They always have dark spots on them. And now I'm using my rigger to work on that kind of dead tree. Here we go. Adding some more color to my aspen, going straight white, but allowing it to just mix in with the color on the board already. I'm not trying to be too clean with my colors because they can mix in this painting and it's not going to hurt it. If these colors get mixed together, it's going to work, because you can have yellow in any of these, you can have green in any of these, you can have the brown in any of these, you can have the white in any of these. So I'm not concerned about getting the paint to mix on my palette or to get too much of one color in it. It just works. So this painting is an easy one to do because you don't have to worry too much about color. And so this is all just going I'm mixing a lot of impasto brushwork into the loose brushwork. And now I'm going to put some darker greens into the distant aspens. This first aspen up front, the big one, it's too close to even see its greenery. Now I'm going to add some shape in. So I kind of worked from the back forward on my detail because I want to, it just works better for me if I can do the back first and then move forward, because then I can put details over what I've already done. And so I work on these trees, these bushes, adding in various different greens. Again, I've talked about how I mix those up, variety of those different methods, making them a little darker on the bottom. A lot of your greenery is going to be darker on the bottom where it's more in shadow. And I want to keep the edges below the greenery dark. I also want to be dark around the base of that main focal point, that tall aspen. And I'm going to put some darks in the road, and I'm going to break that up. I want to kind of create a little bit of the illusion of the shadow, but you're not sure. I want to create some depth by putting dark grasses in way in the foreground. Now I'm adding some contour to my road using a really nice dark rich brown based off of burnt umbers. I start adding some more color to the rocks. Again, always start with 3 phases: the darkest color, the medium color, and the light color. And now I'm going to add some light yellow to my foreground and some various yellow ochre mixes here. Yellow ochre and some of that brown to start lightening up that road a little bit, and in putting some dark on the bottom of those bushes as well. This painting took me about 2 hours to finish is all. So it was pretty quick painting. Loose paintings, one of the definitions, it should not take you as long. Because if you take too long with it, it's no longer a loose painting. And if you think about it, Looseness should come quick and easy and natural. You can't fake looseness by spending a lot of extra time on your painting. Then you get more detail. Now I'm bringing in some more bright colors into the foregrounds, adding some texture to the trees with my rigger brush. You don't want to overdo a rigger brush in a loose painting, but a few details is fine, because again, a rigger is by definition typically not going to be loose unless you use the flick method. And I want to put some off-color white branches up in the trees. Just kind of randomly stick those in there here and there. Don't overwork those. Don't overthink them. Just do some and then quit. And don't even really look at your results until later. Still seeing I need it a little darker, so I'm throwing in a little darker color down in the deep part of the trees where the shadows would be in there. Now I want to add some darker color to my trees. I wanted to create some extra depth in those, but I try not to overwork it. Again, darker on the bottom. As you get up higher, the leaves are going to be thinner. And now I'm using some CAD yellow mediums, and got to thin this out with your mineral spirits in order to get it to flow smoothly. So I can use that flick method where I lay that brush. I showed you in the last painting, I did lay that brush on its side, that rigger, and flick it up, and I create the illusion of grass. And in a few little dots here and there, kind of maybe give you the illusion of flowers that are maybe growing up there. Adding some more strong white on the light side of the tree, the far tree trunks. I don't need much, again, because I want those to peer further back and to keep it looser. Now I'm using that rigger just to throw in a little darker patches into that main aspen tree. And I'm going to throw a few little branches off of those, coming out of those dark patches. And, again, using that rigger. Don't want to overdo it. I came very close there. Adding a few little branches to that dead tree next to it, too. You can quickly go too far with with anything. And to make it work, I got to add some dark patches to some of these distant aspen trees. So again, I just tap it in there a little bit with the rigger. And now I'm going to put in some more grasses. I'm kind of bouncing around now with doing grasses, and here I'm lightening the road a little bit to give it more contour. Adding in some colorful grasses here and there to break up the heavier areas. Stepping back now and coming back in, putting some lighter color into the bushes. I don't want them to stand out too much, but I do want them to have some color in them as well. So I want the color to make them stand out a little bit, and the contrast with the green itself. I'm going to throw in some darker grasses on this side here. I threw in a little bit of CAD yellow light on that side, and now I'm going to darken some of that back up again. I lay a nice layer of dark at the bottom, and I start popping that up a little bit with my round, and now I come back in with a rigger. Again, these little brush strokes with this tiny rigger instantly create depth in your painting. It's the most unloose part of the painting is where I use the rigger, you'll notice. So I'm signing it now, and I do come back in after I'm done signing it, and I realize I've got a little bit more work to do. So I'll get that signed, and then I'll do a couple other things here. I got a little too much yellow, I felt, so I'm going to lighten that green a little bit. And there we have it, my finished painting. So now, like I promised you, what don't I like about this? I don't like the second row, the row of aspens going all the way across the painting. It was too much. I should have broken that row of aspens up, the small aspens. I should have left one side open to create and have them taper off, or I should have left something open in the middle. But that's what's damaging the composition, is that that row of aspens should not go all the way across the board and fill up the whole sky and yellow. I needed to come up with something different. Leave a field, leave a meadow. Move some of those aspens to one side or the other, and allowed maybe more of the sky to show. But that's the problem with this. So sometimes you don't know until you're done. And so I'm going to end up doing another painting similar to this, and you'll see, and I'll show you, and I'll compare it when I do. I don't know if it'll be this week or next, whatever, but I've got a couple other projects. But you'll see when I show you how I can do a lot of the same effects, but because I changed the composition a little bit, it comes out to be a much better painting compositionally. So anyway, I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed this. Thank you for staying all the way through the entire painting. This is the Big Toad, and I am out.